should I be buying, selling, or holding your favorite crypto coins right now? In this video, I'm going to rank individually your favorite coins to identify whether or not they'd be good to buy or take profits in, or maybe just stay away from altogether. We're going to understand a few factors that cause the pumps and dumps of any coin, and also look at a key narrative that's just about to explode and starting to show very early signs of strength. As well as that, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll tell you the coin that I'm holding more of than any other token in my portfolio. So do me a favor, hit that like button, and let's get into today's video. Now guys, I want you to be patient because we need to understand something before we decide whether I would buy, hold, or sell this illustrious group of different tokens. That is, we need to understand what causes a price to go up and what causes a price to go down. And for that, we've got this simple diagram that talks about factors that create Bitcoin volatility. I want you to delete Bitcoin and replace it with like Casper or ICP or Render or Filecoin or anything, guys, because all of these factors are at play in different coins. It's influenced by supply and demand, simply people buying it, selling it, as well as other factors like if someone's developing on a chain, are they having to stake tokens, take tokens out of supply, etc. Fairly straightforward. More people effectively that want something and the less of it is available, the price goes up. Investors and sentiment. That's also very important, particularly more recently in lots of newer coins that haven't yet started to have on-chain developers, etc. And there's ways to measure each of these, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Government regulations, XRP, and media hype. You know, people covering it on the news, YouTube, you get it. But ultimately, these two here are linked, okay? When the investor sentiment's good, lots of people will make videos about it on YouTube. Now, we also need to know the other factor, and that is that there's two types of money in crypto, and that's retail and institutional money. Typically, right now is more of a kind of a retail phase with earlier parts of institution coming in. And you'll see that retail doesn't really make up much of the overall market share once you get further down the line. And particularly in this bull market, you're going to see even more institutions versus retail. Whew. So I hope that all makes sense. Now let's go in an order of march. Let's have a look at Casper. Now Casper was one of the most hyped and exciting tokens of 2023. Why? Because it basically came from nowhere and suddenly exploded onto the scene doing like 20 or so X, which is unbelievable. And with that, it grew a very strong and passionate community who drove forward the narrative and got really pumped and excited about it. And it came to a point around the 12th of November where it started to top out and then started to pull back. Now, why does this happen? Well, because of this. Using this as a chart, I want you to identify where Casper pumped from. I know all the Casper maxis will be like, well, because the tech's amazing and whatever else. The tech's amazing is important, but only important in that it influences media hype, investor and user sentiment. Since right now the supply and demand is simply controlled on Casper by who's buying it and who's selling it. So what happens when the price is rallying really hard like this is that lots of people start to be like, wow, what's Casper? I've never heard of it. And they go and find out about it or just completely FOMO in because they're like, wow, this sounds good. And the price will keep pumping until you reach a bit of a ceiling of where we are in the market. Remember, it's early retail investors right now before institutions come in. There's a finite amount of money and finite amount of retail investors. And eventually, as the price continues to go higher and higher, the number of people who will buy will be less, and those people who are already in it haven't got more money to buy more. So it reaches a point where people can't buy anymore because they haven't got enough money, and then people get kind of a little bit bored, and then they think maybe, okay, let's get out of Casper for a bit, and then they start to sell, and it kind of goes sideways. So the important question, is Casper a buy, sell? So this is a really important factor. Understand that when coins are rallying really hard and the excitement and stuff is there, maybe it's never time to enter into a coin because we can wait. And those who were patient enough to wait with Casper now find themselves in a very interesting area, around 33% of the way down. Now, this does look like there could be a continuation lower, but you would have to argue that within this green box, every time Casper is getting bought up quite nicely. So I would anticipate that if Casper is able to return not really very much lower than where it is right now, maybe 6 or 7%, that this could be a good buy for Casper. Who'd have thought it, guys? How I might have changed my tune, but I have no personal vendettas on cryptos, and that's based simply on the fact that I think the big buyers are aware that Casper has a bright future ahead of it, and they're just waiting for a good point to buy into. The hype and attention will return if Casper starts to get moving again from here, and then that has a very good opportunity to see another leg up. Institutions, etc. are very aware as well of the hype and attention that a coin can create. So for me, and obviously guys, this is not financial advice, don't go and buy it just because I said it, okay? Go and do your research and understand if it's good or not. Casper, as far as I'm concerned, looks like it goes in the red box. Now, I'll leave Filecoin and ICP until later on, and you'll understand why. But let's just have a look at a couple of others. Next one up being Quant. Quant, pretty much unexciting price action going on. And I didn't like the fact that we broke beyond the year and got sold off very harshly and aggressively. While I think that Quant is doing some important work and could be an interesting buy for the future, personally, it doesn't really excite me that much. If I was into Quant already right now, then I think it's at a pretty good position because it's still very low and it could see some good upside. But you're looking like a 4x to all-time highs. Yes, the world's going towards CBDCs, but it just doesn't get me excited like it did perhaps earlier on last year before these new narratives started to present themselves. But I know lots of people are really bought into Quant. They love the kind of research and stuff. Therefore, for that reason, because the price is also good, I would keep it at a hold. If you like the tech and stuff like that, don't let me put you off it. It's in a good price position. Now, Celestia is going to be a very hot trending coin over the next year or so. It's within a very interesting ecosystem. And I think the modular blockchain is also going to be a hugely important part of crypto development going forward. But look at this chart, guys. You can absolutely torn it up. Since the 7th or 8th of November, it's up nearly 8x. And while it might continue a bit higher and whatever, I bang it in here because it's time perhaps to take a little bit of money out of it, take some profits. If you've made like 8x on this, congratulations, fantastic job. This coin will go much higher in the future, but don't be afraid to take profits because that hype will always move on. The hype and excitement behind something and the tech and whatever can only keep it so high for so long. Remember, every project, no matter this tech or that tech or this coin's different, is not different. Everything is supply and demand, hype and attention. I think it's going to have a pullback. Where it has a pullback to, maybe down to $16, but I would say from this particular chart, you probably would consider that maybe it's going to come down a little bit lower, maybe around sort of $14 or so. This is a very bearish pattern as well, where you've got the engulfing bearish candle here. I would anticipate a move down somewhere around 25%. And guys, don't get butthurt by this, okay? It's not a personal vendetta against any given coin. Looking at hype and attention, where things are. Now guys, the hype and attention is so important. This is Lunar Crush, which I've shown on the channel before. I think I did pay for this. I think it's like $48 for the year, or you can do it like monthly for like $3 or $4. Cryptocurrencies, trending tokens. Now, what we're looking at the alt rank. Look, when the coins are starting to improve and build in the alt rank, and we can catch them earlier, then that's something very important. Notice 3 very important coins up here that are moving in the upwards direction. Now, as well, Chainlink, Solana, and Render weren't here the other day. They've suddenly started to pick up and get interesting again. And that's really cool because Render's come up like 270 places. Chainlink's up 359 places. ICE token, pay attention to that. What's that? Up over 1,000 places. So let's have a look at Chainlink. Well, guys, Chainlink actually prints a very interesting pattern on here. Has had a kind of an all right year where it's up like 160%, which, yeah, you know, we would have liked to have got in down here. And if you were subscribed to the channel, then you would have probably been getting in down here. But this is a really nice pattern that you can see playing out here. Now, what does that pattern look like? Well, look, this box, you can see, has basically kept inside of this box. Notice if it gets outside of the box and then it comes back into the box, the chances are it will reach the other side of the box again. But at some point, remember the trajectory is up, we're in an uptrend, then we see this happen. This dive down deeper into a very interesting liquidity zone, and then it starts to pull up. That to me tells me the link is about to do something like this and perhaps start to go beyond highs. The next target I would say for Chainlink sits up here around $28. It would have been nicer to maybe get in slightly lower down on Chainlink, but overall, I'm very bullish on this project, guys. Real world assets. Chainlink, in my opinion, is one of those like should be in your portfolio along with the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is the level I would think that Chainlink gets for a lot of people. And therefore, it's a very interesting one. Although, yeah, it's kind of a little bit on the, let's put it as a hold, okay? If you've been getting into Chainlink, great. But right now, there's probably better options on the table, and I'll talk about those later. Now, guys, quickly, let's look at the layer 2s. We got Arbitrum, Optimism. Okay, so guys, layer 2s have been performing strongly along with ETH right now, but Arbitrum has had a very killer move towards the upside. Now, this is in price discovery, which means it's in a price pretty much that it hasn't seen before. How do we know whether or not we should be getting out at those points? Well, you can take from a previous swing high, which was around here. At the start of the kind of life cycle of this coin, you can then go to the swing low with the Fibonacci sequence. Typically 1.618, which is this number here, you can see the blue line, is roughly where you will see coins start to take a bit of a cool off at. You can see Arbitrum got very close to up here. It started to take a little cool off. I anticipate right now that Arbitrum will have a very good year. Layer 2s are going to be huge, but we're going to see a bit of a cool off going on right now in Arbitrum. So how low does it go? I'm not really sure right now. I think if Ethereum starts to get going again, either way, Arbitrum could be pulling back a little bit. But that pullback is not enough to say, I'm just going to sell it. I don't want to be in it. So what do? I go across here and I will probably say Arbitrum belongs in the hold section. And by the way, I just want to point out, this sell doesn't mean sell the lot, okay? It means take it like 10%, 20% profits, whatever you want to be comfortable with, okay? You could even put this into hold. Arbitrum ecosystem is absolutely booming in transactions. So many other things going on. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about then, ICP, guys. Again, much like Casper, it gained a huge amount of attention. Why I was covering ICP through the year, last year, as well as Solana, and being really like bullish on them was because they were really undervalued. Okay, they were really undervalued based on a load of bad press to do with the FTX scandal and loads of other bits and pieces. ICP, therefore, was almost like a dirty word. No one wanted to talk about it, okay? We were talking about it multiple times through the year, and then suddenly it's boomed from like being worth about $2, it's down like a 6-7x, which is great. But now what? It suddenly becomes the hype coin that everyone wants to talk about. This month, it's the new Casper. And you're like, well, yeah, but the tech's really good. Guys, it doesn't really matter, okay? The tech's important, but the tech's only important enough to drive the narrative right now about the retail, and the retail is what's driving this current early stage moves, mostly in these crypto markets. Institutions, remember, come in the kind of the next phase in the market. Look, remember I showed you this. 2020, there was barely any kind of institutions entering. Suddenly the institutions blow up the entire market. 2021 it was happening. This is the end of 2020, and look at where Bitcoin was at the end of 2020. It was around 26k. We, I think, are probably in a region around here, equivalent, okay? In the equivalent sort of region right now. So this kind of first leg up, which we're kind of at the very early stages of, in my opinion, of course, could be wrong, was mainly done with retail. Therefore, if retail is already hyped and seen lots of price movements in some coins, they'll start to take the money out because there's not new retail arriving. There's not new institutions arriving. It's just people within this ecosystem moving money from one place to another. If a coin's already pumped, that money has to go to another coin and another coin. Yes. The next phase, you'll see institutions coming in. And if you really back a project on the tech, then the institutions could well get involved in that project. ICPs, Caspers, etc. That's what drives the next leg up. Okay, so let's look at ICP. What's it done recently? It's gone up really, really hard. So why did it go really, really hard? Because the retail hated it, and now the retail suddenly started liking it. It suddenly got loads of media hype and attention, which allowed it to drive up really hard. It's a multi-billion-dollar project. It makes like 20 grand a month. The amount of development and stuff going on chain right now is pretty good, but it's not enough yet to be driving this until you get kind of institutional investment, which means after big pumps, you tend to get, you know, calming down. So this tells us that it's starting to calm down. We get a dip, it buys up, lower high, lower highs, slight downtrend. ICP gets down to around sort of $10. Ideally, maybe you have a buy zone down here. If you get really lucky, you can have it in here. If you really want in, you didn't get in before, maybe somewhere around the kind of $11 mark, maybe down here. Now I hold some ICP. I took some profits on it, but I still hold ICP. Therefore, it'd be wrong of me to tell you to do anything other than hold ICP. And you can see I'm being pretty damning on what I would be buying and holding right now. Until now. Now, guys, before lots of people are like, oh, he's only shilling his own bags and whatever. I don't go in for that on multi-billion-dollar market caps. As much as I love the fact that you think my channel can pump multi-billion-dollar coins, I really don't think it can. Anyway, let's get on with it. Optimism, putting a double top. Layer 2 has been having a killer year, starting to kind of cool off, come down a bit. Optimism kind of goes in with Arbitrum. I don't want to call it sells, guys. I don't want you to panic sell out of these coins. It's still early in a bull market. I'd be taking profits, okay? To be honest, on lots of these, okay? But, you know, to keep you chirpy and happy, you can just hold it. Because I know not everyone's in it for day trading and whatever else. This isn't day trading. It's just maximizing gains. And if you're just holding these coins for the next 2 years, then fine. Now, I've left these 4 till last for a very good reason. All of these 4 fit within something very important, which is an exploding trend. AI scaling issues. Guys, I've talked about this multiple times recently. $1.7 trillion is the projected growth until in 2030. We're not even at $285 billion as next year, so we're way smaller than that right now. We're like half of that right now, okay? So this is literally enormous. There is a huge demand on AI services, just storage, computing, and GPU services. And that's why we bring up these last projects. Now, I talked about render the other day in this video, knowing that Apple headset and virtual reality was about to come out, and we were going to see a big explosion in the demand for stuff like GPU rendering. This is GPU rendering for the Render network. Look how the figures are increasing through last year. We're seeing that service getting used all the time. This is unique holders of the Render token through 2023. Nice steady growth curve, all looking very positive. How's Render doing over here? Well, it's up a load of places. Look at it, guys. And it's just right now starting to gain in price. Now, I made that video back on Saturday, 4 or 5 days ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sat around here, okay? Since then, the price is now shooting up, okay? It's up around 11%. But Render, unlike lots of the other coins that we've been talking about, has already had its kind of spike, bit of a blow off top, and for about a month or so, it's been in some sort of a downtrend. It's had a pullback somewhere in the region of sort of 34 to 35%. Now it's starting to pick up again. It's putting a double bottom here. And whilst it is kind of like higher than it has been, it's going there for a reason. We're seeing more and more active users. The whole GPU compute space is absolutely going to be blowing up. I think Render is one of the biggest winners from that whole narrative going forward. And remember, back to all-time highs, it's nothing particularly impressive for Render. I think Render's got a really bright future ahead of it. Although there is a Render killer coming up, which I have been promising, and I will bring that to you in a future video in the next few weeks. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to capture that, because it's not launched yet and it's going to be huge. So Render, yeah, it's high, guys, but personally I hold some and I want to hold more. Now, in that whole kind of like narrative space of what's booming, Akash in the DePIN, decentralized compute space, also a phenomenal project that's going to do very, very well going forward. But the narrative versus the hype, you've got to be careful, guys. Remember, always the balance. If a price is high, no matter how great it sounds, be cautious. Remember, everyone who bought down here is now made a load of money. They're going to sell. Everyone likes to sell. This starts to go sideways. You've got less buyers going in. Eventually it dips. So Akash right now we can see has had a pullback somewhere around 16%. Personally, I would be looking to get in if it can get down to around this kind of level, sat around $2.3, which would be a downside of about 18%. Personally, for me, if I was holding Akash right now, which I don't, but I wish I'd got in earlier, then it would probably be a hold, kind of take profits if you haven't taken profits already. But actually, because it's already had that pullback, it's around 15% to the next buy zone, I'm going for a hold. Last but not least, Arweave, Filecoin. Both doing very similar things and both looking very good on the charts right now. Arweave is decentralized storage. This is a storage supply from March 2021 to March 2022, grew by 5x. The storage demand grew by 10x. And this demand is exponentially getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, we can understand there's a huge demand arriving. These projects, there's not many of them, are undervalued and sat in a great position. It's the easiest thing, okay? Arweave right now looks phenomenal, okay? Basically has this classic kind of Wyckoff accumulation pattern, dips into this low buy zone, starts to pump. And yeah, it has moved along with the rest of the market over the last kind of few months, 154%, but nothing too aggressive. Not many people talking about it. I like to see that. You know, I think this looks strong. Eventually, we're going to see a breakout beyond here. And when it does break out, I think we're going to see a 2x very, very quickly. And, you know, back to highs, guys, it's a crazy sort of 12, 13x for previous highs on Arweave. Can't go far wrong. Last but not least is Filecoin. And Filecoin, much like Arweave, is in this particular pattern right now. Again, you can see, has this kind of nice downtrend. It tried to break out and it got rejected, which makes it even more prime than it was maybe back here, because it did get rejected, okay, along with Bitcoin and whatever else. And you're like, well, it's not really pumping. Why should we be paying attention? Guys, don't pay attention to coins that are pumped. They've pumped and you weren't in it. So what's next? This is what's next, in my opinion. Now, Filecoin, similar to Arweave, works in a slightly different way, and it links together DePIN and AI, which is a golden place to be. Because while it is a decentralized storage network, it also links in AI, where an AI can basically manage the folders and documents that are put away to enable certain people to have access to projects and others to not have access to things. This is very smart and very important, and it separates Filecoin from all the others. Now, you can see the net deposits slowly growing over time, and net borrows also slowly growing over time. You can see in terms of cost of decentralized storage versus centralized storage, at the top, you've got Amazon S3 being worth around $23 per terabyte. At the bottom, you've got Filecoin at 19 cents. It's pretty obvious as this demand goes up that centralized storages, one, probably aren't going to be able to provide all of the storage demands, but also they're going to get priced out of the market. And this is the value of the decentralized storage market, as you can see, exponentially increasing all the time in the billions of dollars. All very exciting. And since I think we're moving towards a season where narratives become very, very important, I think that these coins sat down here are very exciting and very interesting, particularly for institutional investors who may be starting to arrive into the space right now. Therefore, Filecoin is the biggest bag of crypto that I hold. I think once that narrative phase kicks off, we start to see Ethereum rallying hard. We could see a very quick move up to around this level. Previous values of Filecoin, you can see reaching around $236 in the past. And to be honest, I can see this more likely happening than coins that have been pumping more aggressively recently. So that's my 2 cents. Bearing in mind I've already bought it and I already hold it, I would stick it in hold. Would I buy it? Well, it's up to you guys. Go and look at a Messari report on DeepIn and the future of DeepIn, and you'll also start to identify that coins like Filecoin are in perfect positions. You can see the usage and all the statistics starting to show that it's getting used more often. If you start to see it climbing up this ladder, at the moment it's not even in the top 100, which is great, okay? I think eventually it will start to arrive into this space, and when it starts to arrive into this space, I think that all the factors are coming together to see great upside. Now guys, I'm not trying to pump my bag. Filecoin's like a multi-billion-dollar market cap coin. I'm not going to be able to pump it, but I wanted to share my opinion on it. I've specifically put it into this hold level, although personally it's actually a price lower than what I bought it at, so you know, fine, fair enough. But don't go and buy anything blindly off of what I say or anyone else says. You need to be doing the research yourself. This is an incredibly competitive space right now, guys, and you're in competition with everyone else in order to make money. You got to put the work in and start to learn more about these different cryptos. And a great place you can do that, guys, is within the inner circle, which is linked down below. You can see that information that I've shared about Filecoin, I actually shared back 12 days ago in the inner circle and talked about Arweave and other coins and things that I was investing in based on a bunch of research that I'd done. You can see the difference between Filecoin and ICP and what I think will next happen with Filecoin. There's various technical analysis sections where myself and other experienced traders are also sharing their analysis on a daily basis. We also have our own venture capital fund where we invest alongside Binance Labs, Polygon Studios, and other huge institutions, and you can invest in these as part of a pool, which gives you massive opportunity, unheard of in the wider crypto space. It's a method by which I invested in a project called Inspect that literally did a 28x on launch and made me an absolute killing. As well as that, we are introducing a brand new trade zone that is going to be available for users by the 20th of January. Within this zone, there's going to be a handful of carefully selected traders who will be sharing their trading setups on a daily basis. Up until the 20th of January, the price will be $9.99. If you lock in that price, you will get $9.99 for life, and the price will never change on you. However, after the 20th of January, we will be increasing the price of the Discord to $19.99, which in my opinion is still massive value for that low price. So make sure you're acting fast if you want to get into the Discord and make the most of all these opportunities. There's other stuff as well. You can also get involved in airdrops. There's a group specialized to tracing various wallets, which you can check out here. And as well, there's other places where new beginners can check out various tutorials and much more. All found below in the link for the inner circle. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, a bit of a long one, but hopefully of good value to you. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button. If you're new to the channel and you're not subscribed already, then do me a favor and subscribe, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.